Good afternoon, everyone. Serotonin. Have you ever heard of the Olympic? Did you know that the Olympic was the Titanic's sister ship and was photographed in Southampton in the same month that the Titanic sunk? This is a really interesting post about what actually happened, and given the more recent video I posted about people saying that there was another ship, people who were actually survivors of the Titanic saying there was another ship that was right there. I just wanted to read this to you. It really caught my eye. So the other thing to keep in mind is a lot of people believe that the creation of the Fed was something to do with the Titanic sinking, as there were many people who were originally against central banking who were billionaires, benevolent billionaires, and they were basically sort of led to board and purchase a ticket for the Titanic ship sailing across, and the fateful sail. And the people that they were supposed to be meeting with, there was basically some kind of business meeting that was scheduled to happen either aboard the ship or upon destination. And so it was agreed upon that there would be a meeting amongst many wealthy people, including these benevolent billionaires and millionaires. And it turned out that at the very last minute, all of the people, except for the more benevolent few, decided to not attend. They basically never boarded the ship. And I can't quite remember all the names of the people, so I apologize for that. But that's not really the point of this particular post anyway. So I can redo that one or reintroduce the information later. Anyway, basically, yeah, there was a lot of things that are sort of pinned to this event happening. So it is quite the mystery. And then there's also another boat called the Lusitania that was also in question about this particular sinking and whether it was involved or not. Okay. So basically what happened was, so these two boats are identical, as you can see, not completely identical, of course, but, you know, at a quick glance they would be. This is the Olympic. It's a photograph of the damage that was done. It happened to collide with another ship called the Hawk while it was still at the UK, just off the coast of the Isle of Wight. So this is the damage that was sustained, and there's a video talking about it. And basically what they're saying is that, okay, so these are the owners of the ship. They were really concerned about the legal bill, and so what they decided to do was they decided to sail her instead of the Titanic and let her sink. And I just want to draw attention to this is JP Morgan. And he looks like a mask that an alien put on to pose as a human being, is all I'm going to say. Like that, to me, like this whole forehead nose thing looks like, I don't know. I've worked with people who did special effects makeup, and that's what I'm getting here. You know, and you watch those crazy South Asian videos of ladies putting on prosthetics and stuff. That's what I'm seeing here. Okay. So basically what they did was they just switched the boats and let the Olympic sail out of the port that day. And it says here, so this is the main difference between them, that they have unevenly spaced thin windows on the Olympic, and then 14 evenly spaced larger windows. And it says here that the Titanic was pictured while being built had 14 evenly spaced portholes, but when it left Southampton on the doomed maiden voyage on April 10th in 1912, it had 16 unevenly spaced portholes. So it left port, not the Titanic, but the Olympic. And apparently this is not the only piece of evidence that can be gathered. And yeah. So Patty Fenton is someone who noticed that it was switched. There was also letters sent. So here, when the surviving crew got to port, they were all taken aside and met by two men, one in a high position in the company and the other man was in a very high position in the government. The government man read the crew the Official Secrets Act, explaining if they told of the real reason for the sinking or the rumors of an insurance scam, they would serve a minimum of 20 years in jail and would never get a job once they got out. Look at that face. Crazy face. Okay. So, JP Morgan was amongst the many people who canceled his trip at the last minute because he was of ill health. But he was in fact spotted in France 2 days later and appeared to be in perfectly well health. His, Bruce Ismay's wife and their children were also canceled, also spotted in Wales on a motor holiday. JP Morgan had statues removed from the ship before they left. And we all know that JP Morgan went on to have quite a lot of money. So this is kind of interesting. Another thing that has confused people is the fact that a ship named SS Californian was able to find coal when the country was in the middle of a coal strike. And then there was the fact that when it had left London, there was no passengers on board. Instead, there was a small cargo of blankets and warm clothes, this perhaps for the passengers and crew from the Titanic. For some reason, Captain Lord did not waste any time in getting out of the port and into the North Atlantic, and the fact that he didn't sell any tickets for the voyage to Boston, when there would have been hundreds of people wanting to cross the Atlantic, makes this seem more likely that there had been a plan to put in place to claim compensation on the ship. That's Captain Lord. What a name. Unbelievable. These names and faces. Unbelievable. So the supposed Olympic was taken out of service in 1935, which would then have been the Titanic, right? Arriving in Jarrow, the UK, to be stripped and broken down. Part of the wood paneling and other parts included the aft first-class staircase and was taken and used in the White Swan Hotel. Very interesting. The paneling shows the used number on the frame says 401, and this was the number that was given to the Titanic when it was being built in Belfast, Ireland. However, if the paneling had been from the Olympic, the number would have been 400, not 401. So yet another coincidence, quote unquote. Another thing is that when you look at anything to do with the advertising for the Titanic and the White Star Line for that matter, the ship was always used, with the Olympic and its interior every time they needed pictures. And this would seem very odd considering the fact that people were paying for the Titanic's maiden voyage and not the Olympic's maiden voyage. Some more stuff, okay. So here we go. Photo of the wreck claimed to be the Titanic, and what they're doing, they're showing it enhanced and whatnot. And they're basically showing down here, this is an actual picture of the Titanic. Okay, and just as an aside, my father actually grew up in Southampton, and some of my great aunts and uncles and whatnot were involved in the creation of it. And actually, I come from miners, from coal miners specifically, but my grandfather actually rejected that life and went in a different passage. But I do know that there were people that I'm related to that helped weave the ropes for the Titanic. So we were not a lofty bunch, obviously, but very interesting stuff. So this is an incredibly interesting post, and I wanted to share it with you. I hope you enjoyed that. Godspeed. Have a great day.